muscle is medicine. So I'm going to be getting into why it's medicine. And before I start this video, I want to make sure that I just say thank you to those that subscribe and hit that subscribe button, because this is a free channel, but the content and the time that I put into content is definitely not free. So your support, your likes, your comments, your feedback, your subscriptions here, it really does keep me going and give me the ability to continue to create content. The greatest predictors for how long somebody lives is how much muscle they have on their skeletal system. And this is so important in so many ways. It's just not external, it's internal as well. You know, when you look at people who avoid drugs, they don't really have to go to the doctor very much. You know, they're very mobile and efficient. Their bodies look great, you know, as they age. When you talk to these people, which I have, they all have one thing in common, that they're in the gym and they're lifting weights. And then when you talk to people who are loss of independence, or they have physical illness, right? Diabetes or some other type of health issue, they also have something in common. They don't prioritize weightlifting, and they eat whatever they want. They go out and drink alcohol on the weekends. That leads me to why it's usually a loss of muscle that happens way before illness and aging happens. So the predictor for staying healthy, functional, and young is muscle. So today I'm going to be breaking down why it's important to build the greatest defense against aging, and that is to build muscle. You can't fake it, right? You can't buy muscle. You can't fake strength. You either have it or not. Like, you can walk into a gym, right? One of the most honest environments in the world, pick up a weight, and if you're not strong enough, you won't be able to pick up that weight. You can't buy it. You can't fake it. It is what it is. It's one of the truest places. That's why I love the gym. And I love lifting weights. So when I see all these trends right now, which are the peptides and the Ozempic and the surgeries and all these crazy things that people are doing, right? The ab, I saw the newest one, the ab augmentation for the abs. Like, you can get abs now. It was crazy. Like, I started to, you know, realize that people are really losing the meaning of what it means to be fit and why it's so important to be fit. It's far from external. It really has to do with internal. And like, when you see that all of these things don't help build skeletal muscle, you understand that no matter how much these people try to fake it or buy it, we know that it doesn't look good. Like, overall, it doesn't look good. Like, you can see people coming off of this Ozempic and they don't look healthy. They don't look great, okay? They look sick. And that's because when you lose muscle, you lose a lot. You lose mitochondria, you get insulin sensitivity. So we're going to be seeing, and this is just my theory, we're going to be seeing a lot of type 2 diabetes, a lot of insulin sensitivities coming from these trends that we're seeing, especially Ozempic. I've said it in the past, we're going to be probably having a lot of health issues coming from these drugs over time, and I hope I'm wrong. You know, when you look at how the body atrophies over the years, right? After the age of 30, you lose 1 to 3% of muscle per year. And you might be thinking, well, that's really not a lot, okay? Well, I mean, if you're looking at it per year. But now let's do the math, right? Look at when you were 20 to when you were 60. Now you're talking over 40% of your muscle gone. That's almost half your body weight gone, okay? That's less booty, less legs, less shoulders. All your major strong muscles that make you look full, tight, strong are gone. And it doesn't stop there. It goes internal. And this is where I want to lead to next. You know, because most people might be saying, well, so what? What's a big deal, you know, if I don't look the same way? But this is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about your metabolism. I'm talking about how you function, the things that happen over time. So this is what we want to get into. When you continue to, eat less, which is what these drugs do, it gives you less energy output. You won't be able to put out the same physical work. You won't be able to push as much weight. The more muscle you have, the better metabolism, the more calories you burn at rest. The less muscle you have, the less calories you burn at rest, the more fat you add. It goes much, much deeper, right? It opens up windows for early death. We're not talking about what it looks like on the outside. We're talking about where it's going to lead you long term. This is because low muscle mass means you're more vulnerable to everything. You're basically more fragile, okay? And that's why you see, like your grandma, she didn't die from the illness the doctor said she had. She died from the fall in the kitchen that broke her hip and put her in the bed for a year that caused her to be immobile. That's when she went downhill, okay? So you become less resilient over time. That's why muscle is like the body's pension. The earlier you invest in it, the more health you can withdraw later. It's really one of the best investments. It's like putting, money into a retirement fund and knowing that later on you can finally retire and be okay. Same thing with getting into the gym. The earlier you are there, the more you put in, the better your results will be down the road. And you don't necessarily have to just start young, but it's just a matter of staying consistent. So even if you're starting at this point, it's just a matter of getting on it and staying consistent. So if you have insulin sensitivity, you have thyroid problems, you have diabetes, it can actually reverse those signs in just less than 12 months. That's how powerful it is. So now you understand why muscle loss, like how muscle loss begins. Basically not getting into the gym, not taking care of yourself. But the next question is, why does muscle loss create so much damage? What is going on internally in the body that makes it so damaging? Well, one of the biggest answers can be lead in your blood sugar. And most people have no clue how serious this is. When you eat carbohydrates, right, your body needs somewhere for that glucose to go. And 70% of the glucose that you consume gets used up by skeletal muscle. So now think about what happens when you have low muscle mass, okay? You have fewer muscle cells and fewer glucose receptors. Your pancreas will see elevated blood pressure, which then pumps more insulin to try to force the glucose to the cells. And what does this create over time? Insulin sensitivity. So that means your body will literally stop responding to insulin and you develop type 2 diabetes. So if you're wondering why the type 2 diabetes is like an epidemic, like everybody is getting it, and especially in America, is because every single thing we see on the shelves in the grocery store is laden with sugar. Like your dressings, your everything, your breads, your pastas, meats, even the meats are injected with this stuff. Like you are not getting away from an overdose of sugar, and it's creating insulin resistance in Americans. So that means your body just stops responding to insulin. Think of your muscle like a sponge, right? The bigger that sponge, the bigger the leg muscles or bigger your muscles, the more the sponge, the more it can handle the sugar, okay? The smaller the sponge, now what do you have? You have an overfill. That overfill, and what it does, it destroys organs. It destroys organs over time, okay? And this is why muscle mass is the strongest preventative measures for metabolic disease. The bigger the muscle, the more it can handle sugar and these foods that we're eating, these things right now that is corrupting everything in American food. And a lot of people can't grow their food. Like I always suggest, if you can grow your own vegetables, your own fruits, like try to know your sources for your single ingredient foods. That's going to greatly also help you as you age, but a lot of people don't have the time or the resources to do that. So one of the easiest ways to do it, build those muscles. Even a 10% muscle mass increase can lower your chances of these type of disorders over 40%. So a very, very small change in the gym, a little bit of muscle mass, can do a huge, huge turnaround for your body. You could just get into the gym, 30 minutes of exercise 2 to 3 times a week. And that alone is going to help prevent 13 different metabolic cancers. So there's literally no better return on investment than building muscle. And when you build muscle, you build glucose capacity. So this is what's going on internally, and it must happen internally for the external, for the things that you want to see. Because like when girls come to me, they'll say stuff like, "Well, I want better legs, I want a better, I want to look like that, I want to have those abs," but they're seeing it from a very like external thing, but it's really much deeper. It has to be internal for you to see the external. When I hear somebody say something like, "Well, I don't want to get bulky," I have to explain to them that, first of all, you would have to be taking male hormones to get bulky. For somebody who's been in, gym like me, like I started when I was 8 years old. My mom was in the gym, she was in fitness. So she had me get up every morning at 6, and I've been doing it ever since. Okay. So this has been natural to me. It's come natural, and I'm still soft. I'm still feminine. I'm still curvy, as some would call it. So no, you're not going to get bulky, but you do need to get in the gym and lift those weights. I could take two individuals. They both weigh 180 pounds. One is 10% body fat, another is 30% body fat. And the one that's 10% body fat, which has more muscle mass, that person is going to be able to better control their blood sugar. Okay. So that's why I say don't step on the scale. Don't worry about the weight. Worry about the body composition. How much muscle do you have on your body compared to fat? It's another reason why the Ozempic trend is so damaging, because everybody is concerned about losing weight. Losing weight. I want to lose weight. I want to get skinny. But when you say this, when you do this, you end up losing more muscle. Okay. Because what does Ozempic do? Let's think about it. Okay. It restricts your food. It makes you not as hungry. Now you are also restricting energy output. You don't have as much energy. You don't have as much, your lifts aren't as strong. Okay. So everything suffers. You start to atrophy. And when you atrophy, you lack skeletal muscle. And lack of skeletal muscle is going to make people insulin sensitive. And now what do you got? You're going to be seeing a lot of people in the time coming with diabetes. And guess who's going to be there for them? The pharmaceutical companies, to sell them more drugs. And those drugs are not cheap, Those drugs are not cheap. They're making, that's how they make their money. And so it's all one whole, thing, and nobody is actually learning the body and how the body works. You shouldn't be concerned with losing weight. You should be concerned with building muscle, and then that would naturally raise your metabolic rate so you can burn more calories at rest, and so you'll have lower body fat. This is what you should be focusing on. So when people are concerned with losing weight, they are literally restricting themselves of nutrition and fuel in the body, and they are aging themselves. Okay, that's why people are looking worse when they're coming out of these things. Like when you see them on whatever they decide to do, the surgeries and the peptides, all this stuff, they're not coming out looking better. You look better when you put high volume training and you eat high nutrition. That is the medicine. So muscle mass helps your body stay adaptable. And what I mean by that is, if you've ever heard of metabolic flexibility for long-term health is basically your ability to switch between burning carbohydrates and fat. Muscle is packed with mitochondria. And if you don't know what mitochondria, probably the easiest way to try to explain it is there's these little cells within the muscle that help your body get really efficient at using stored body fat for energy. When you hear people say something like, "Well, I'm too tired to work out," I laugh because I say, well, you actually need to work out for more energy. It's actually the opposite. The more muscle you have, the more mitochondria you have, which now becomes very efficient at burning your sugars and your fats in your body to help you be a well-performing engine. Do you want to be a high-performing engine that's really efficient at burning fat and sugars in your body? Right? That's why you see people who are jacked or really fit, they can do these fasting. Like they can do fasting and come out more sharp, more mentally sharp. They're not like lethargic or drained, right? That's because they're running their bodies are able to go after that stored fat and sugars, versus somebody who's not efficient. They don't have the muscle mass, they don't have the mitochondria. So now they have to eat constantly and they're still drained all the time. People with low muscle will naturally have higher fat cells. That's just how it goes. So now I want to get into why the muscle isn't just medicine for your body, it's also medicine for your brain. And I want to get into brain health. There's a study that shows why people with bigger leg muscles have also better capacity for learning and their brains are actually bigger as well, right? Building muscle affects your brain more than science can even keep up. And you can pull up studies on this, but they haven't even been able to see the full measure of why low functioning brain and mental illnesses is also due to low skeletal muscle. You look at the BDNF, which is the brain derived neurotropic factor. Think of BDNF as like a fertilizer for the brain, like it makes the brain grow. Okay, so the more you lift weights, the more BDNF you'll have. And so it'll actually improve cognitive memory, right? You'll have better memory. You will have improved learning capacity. So it's like there's so many aspects to why muscle is medicine. It's not just on the surface, it's not just internally on physical, it's also right here in the brain. So when somebody complains that they're having like too much inflammation, right? Like you see, or at least I've experienced talking to clients where they feel like, you know, they have a lot of inflammation. Their wrists, you know, swell up, their ankles swell up. They can't understand why they're having these like weird brain fogs. I always get talking to them and I always find out usually it stems from they used to have a really great routine years ago where they would go to the gym 3 to 4 times a week and then they stopped. Okay, they stopped, they got into sedentary jobs and they slowly kept gaining weight. And 20 pounds later, they're noticing that they keep having inflammation. But then you find out that their habits are not just sedentary, they're also drinking alcohol, they're not drinking enough water, they're chronically dehydrated, right? So all these things are affecting the inflammation, right? So strength training spreads that BDNF, which helps with the brain and learning regularly, but it also gets rid of inflammation in the body, chronic inflammation. What I always suggest to people is that if they haven't been in the gym or they haven't, you know, been working out regularly, is to start. But most importantly is to work on the large muscle groups like your legs, your core, your back. Because if you look at anything in life, and I don't care what it is, it could be sports, it could be job related, with your kids, you know, with your family, everything comes down to having strong back, legs, and core. Even if you've ever had like L5 injuries or back, neck problems, strengthening your core and your glutes first would actually solve you from having to do, let's say, epidurals or surgeries, right? Because that core and the legs basically are like shock absorbers. So if you see people who fall or have injuries, the more leg muscles they have, the better core muscles they have, the more stability they have. So they can prevent themselves from a fall. And I don't care if you're on a surfboard or wherever you are in life, you can kind of keep yourself more stable with strong core and strong legs. The people who don't do this fall and break easier. Okay, so that's another reason why muscle is medicine. So breaking this cycle requires intentional resistance training, getting out of your comfort zone. You know, don't restrict the carbs, don't restrict the food groups, stay with single ingredient food groups. You know, you need that for your body, for your immunity. But just eat right, and then put out that energy output, lift those weights. Instead, focus on movement and energy output that makes our bodies work, right? Because our bodies are machines and they're designed to work hard. That is why every single time you push past a comfort zone, you are not only stronger, but you'll look better over time. And I'm not just talking about, you know, just weights. I'm talking about in life in general, right? When you struggle, you're going to get better. This could be in fitness. This could be in business. It could be in relationships. It helps you function better under struggle. So the value is in the work, and then the struggle, which pushes you past your comfort zone, is really, you know, where you see those benefits. Like if you're not bleeding, if you're not suffering in the gym, if you're not really struggling those last 2 reps, you really don't understand what progressive overload is. You don't understand what gaining muscle really means and why the body gets better when you force it. Okay, it has to be forced. It's not gonna be given to you. So this leads me to my last question is it ever too late to start? And I've been hinting through the whole video that it's not too late to start. It's never too late to start. The most important message that I want for you to take from this video is that it's never too late to become a better version of yourself. And it's never too late to start building muscle. Like you'll hear people say, well, I'm too old, I'm 50, I can't build muscle now. And I'll say, well, no, you can build muscle in your 50s and your 60s and your 70s. There are women and men that are deadlifting at 80. You can always improve. It just starts with beginning, right? And not making excuses for why to get out of the comfort zone. You can't just get into the gym and do anything. You have to understand what progressive overload is. Progressive overload isn't just putting extra weight on a bar. Progressive overload is extra sets, less break in between those sets. It could mean more speed, being more efficient in the rep itself. It could mean a bigger range of motion. Maybe you've been doing short range of motion in your squats and you need to learn less squats, but more quality, deeper, full range motion, right? So it's done over time. It's done with progressive overload. It's all about asking your muscle to do more than it is used to doing, which naturally forces strength because your body has to adapt to that load, to that extra load that it's not used to doing. So this applies whether you're 20, whether you're 70. Progressive overload, it applies across the board. It's just doing more than what you're usually doing, which means getting out of that comfort zone. So next I want to get into the protein intake. I want to briefly talk about protein intake. For every pound in your body, you want at least a gram of protein per pound of body weight, and all the way up until 1.5 grams per body weight. So if you're 180 pounds and you want to remain 180 pounds, you do 180 grams of protein. Little break for our sponsors on First Form. I absolutely love level 1 proteins. They are really, really easy and efficient to get in my protein grams. If you're struggling to get in that 1.5 grams per body weight, you've got to grab some level 1. This makes it super easy for me. There's 23 grams of protein per scoop. So post-workout, I'll throw 2 scoops in a shaker, and that way I'm making sure that I get in all my protein grams for the day. If you try this out, let me know. I love the birthday cake. Pretty much all the flavors are pretty good, but this is one of my new favorites. I make my Ninja Creamy ice creams with it and all sorts of things, and it just makes my meal prep so much more convenient and affordable. If you guys want to know more, I've linked everything down below. Make sure you use my link when you purchase some, and let me know which flavor you love. Focus on training, again, the big muscle groups, which is your back, your core, your glutes, your legs. Learn the stable, traditional exercises before you start doing anything that you see on Instagram. Everybody wants to do all these crazy exercises. Just learn a good quality deep squat, okay? Learn a good quality pull-up, a good quality push-up. These are going to be your foundational exercises. And then the next thing is making sure that you don't overcomplicate it, right? You could do barbells in your house, right? You could do a little tiny gym with some good barbells in your house and just start. Do it free, absolutely costs nothing. You don't need a gym membership. You don't need crazy programs or a trainer to begin with. There's everything right here on YouTube. In fact, if you want to check out some of my YouTube videos on my workouts, I have a lot listed. Go check them out and give them a like for me. And if you have questions, you guys can throw a question to me, and I can also do some online virtual coaching for those that want a more specific based routine that they can stick to. You don't need to be in the gym every day. It's 2 to 3 times out of the week. Make sure they're quality lifts, and then you're going home and you're making sure that what you're doing at home is strong, right? Get your rest. 8 hours of sleep. If you're lifting, you're gonna need 8 to 10 hours of sleep. That 6 hours that you think will work, that 5 hours, it's not gonna work if you wanna build muscle. You also wanna make sure that you're drinking enough water, right? Hydration, I go through at least a gallon a day. You could even up that depending on where you are, but start slow, carry it around, right? If it's in your face, you're gonna drink more. It's important, that's why I carry around my jug. And then don't neglect your steps, right? Don't neglect cardiovascular health, because that's really gonna help as well, right? So make sure you're getting in your walks. I do about 12,000 steps a day, and I'll do it about 3 to 4 times a week, okay? So don't forget the cardiovascular health. So in conclusion, building muscle isn't just about looking good. If somebody comes to you and they say to you, hey, I think it's vain to look good or want to look good, or I think you're obsessed with your reflection, understand that that's somebody who is trying to get out of the work that it takes to look like that, because it's a lot of effort. You have to be out of your comfort zone on a daily basis. There is nothing vain about getting fit, guys. It's actually the opposite. It's very selfless because you're thinking about your loved ones, longevity. You're thinking about not having to put burden and strain on your loved ones down the road. You don't want to get high diabetes. You don't want to get obese. You don't want to have health related issues. You don't want to get cancer. Building muscle is medicine. So people who are building muscle and on top of themselves are actually selfless. It's the ones who aren't that are selfish. They're the ones who are going to have to suffer later on and actually put the loved ones through that. So it's the people that don't want to work out that are actually the selfish ones. So don't let anybody ever guilt you into feeling bad for building muscle. Muscle is actually longevity. Those who are in the gym are going to be, also, they're going to have better libido, right? The body's going to be working like a well-oiled machine. It's going to be like a high performance engine. So you're going to have more libido. You're going to be better in the bedroom with your spouse, right? There's so many good things on that end too. So it's self-care. It improves your independence. It removes disabilities. It keeps your brain sharp. It improves so many things, metabolic health, right? Cardiovascular health. Cognitive function, it's full prevention, it's immune function, recovery from illness and surgery. Think about like if you're coming out of a surgery, you're going to get better quicker. So these are all things that are going to help you become stronger and even look better as you age. So understand muscle is largely within our control too, okay? So a lot of things in our environment is out of our control, the economy, the government, our spouse, our children. There's some things that are out of our control. We have to do what's within our control. And building muscle is one of those things that we do have within our control. And that means that you can do a lot of change, in your environment, in your life, by controlling what's within your control. That's another myth, believing that because somebody's doing well in their 80s, that must mean that they have like superior genetics. No, guys, it's a person who stayed on top of their fitness and their health when they were young and they didn't give up. It shows work ethic, dedication, commitment. So even though building muscle is slow, it's a slow process, right? It's not something that's going to happen overnight, right? It takes what people think it takes 2 to 3 months. It actually takes 1 to 2 years. So just to give you like a rough idea, it's something that's slow. You have to be in it for the long game, but it compounds for the rest of your life. So it's just like any other long-term investment, right? I don't care if you're doing CDs or shares or real estate, you're going to have to hang in there for 5, 10 years, and then you get that 100,000 or that 200,000 or whatever you've done for that investment, right? You have to do the long holds. It's all about the long game. I'm going to actually put a video after me speaking here that you guys can go do in the gym. It's with me and Glenn. We did a back training. Okay, if you're just starting out, make sure you do not head off to the gym without food in your stomach, okay? I say this all the time because you need high protein. You need to head off to the gym with something that's going to, like a fast digesting carbohydrate, such as like a fruit or a white rice, and a high piece of protein before you start training. I always say if you're not eating correctly, forget the gym. It's not gonna do you any good. It's all about what you're doing the other 23 hours of the day, not what you're doing in the 1 hour of the gym. What about you? What's a good tip to tell the people?
Don't try to meet or match up with anybody you see in the gym.
Yeah.
Be safe. Safe is better. Safe means you come out and play again the next day.
Okay, there you go, guys. So let's do this. We are doing around 5 to 6 exercises, and we're doing 3 to 4 sets. The first few sets that we did, we just warmed up, right?
Yep.
It didn't matter if we did 12 reps, 20 reps, but as we are on our working sets, we try to load them up as heavy as we can go and at least make 7 good formed reps.
Yep.
So there you go.
Get it. You rather do clean reps than try to muscle it up. That's how you hurt yourself. Don't hurt yourself. Do clean reps. Put that here. Get up on that bar. There you go. And then kind of. See how that angle is?
workout. Now you got to get home and eat food, get protein. I might come back later for cardio, or I do it early in the morning. Thanks, Resto. Resto's got sunglasses in. Okay, guys, have a great day. See you next time.